This is the Cubs Postcast, your instant game reaction for the Chicago Cubs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Down 8-3, the Cubs do it again. The Cardiac Cubs are alive, and they win 11-8 against the Cincinatti Reds. Reese McGuire becomes the third player in Chicago Cubs history to hit 2 home runs in his Cubs debut. Joe George of the Locked On Cubs postcast here on the Locked On Cubs YouTube channel. What a win. What a series for the Cubs. 2 miraculous comebacks. Tough pitching across the board. We'll talk about Ben Brown and what he did, but we'll talk about the bullpen and the positives of this. But what a comeback for the Cubs. Again, to be down 8-3 and to come back in the way they did from all these different guys contributing. Seiya Suzuki, what a series, what a game he had. He hit a tank. And look, this is a guy who when he scores earlier in the game, he's hurt. You can tell he hurt his ankle. When he got a double later in the game, he's hurt. He's struggling to get to second base. And then he comes up and hits a 3-run bomb to really put this thing on top for the Cubs. This team, look, yesterday they could have won this game. They could have swept the Cincinnati Reds because of the offense. They had the guys on base. They also could have lost this series straight up. They could have got swept. But instead, this offense carries them on Friday. They carry them on Sunday. And as the chat here live on YouTube, hit that subscribe button is pointing out, for the second straight Sunday, they got a win. Sunday wins. 14 home runs this year from Cubs catchers. 14. 9 from Carson Kelly. 3 from Miguel Amaya. And Reese McGuire, who is called up to fill in for Miguel Amaya, then is forced into the starting lineup because Carson Kelly is sick. He comes up and all of a sudden just starts hitting bombs for the Cubs out of nowhere. I mean, this guy is a minor league player at this point in his career. To come up and hit the way he did was so clutch in this game. I think the locked on player of the game, it's got to go to Reese McGuire.
This is the Locked On Player of the Game.
Again, to come up and hit 2 home runs like this, the third player in Cubs history to hit 2 home runs in his Cubs debut. I mean, how important he was today. And look, it was a little shaky early behind the plate. We saw the pass ball that scored a run. He also, right before that, had another one that he blocked very well. He's going to be the guy to be the backup catcher while Miguel Amaya is out. The third Cubs player out at some point this season with an oblique injury is Miguel Amaya. So Reese McGuire comes up. It's not Ballesteros. And this is why I thought it would be. We're mostly going to see Carson Kelly. But for him to come in and step in the way he did, it's just such a surprise because you never expect it to be those kind of guys to come in and perform the way that he did in this game, to hit those 2 home runs in those clutch situations when you needed it the most. And what the Cubs did, look, they had a lot of opportunities in this game. You look back to what happened starting in the 4th inning. You've got runners on first and second with 1 out. Reese McGuire strikes out. Ian Happ hits a ground out. Inning is over. The top of the 5th inning. Suzuki hits a double. Dansby strikes out. PCA flies out. Inning over. And then you're feeling like, okay, are they ever going to actually start putting things together? 3 straight innings of guys getting on second base, and they're doing nothing with it. But the top of the 6th, they start to come back a little bit. Nico Hoerner scores on the wild pitch, so it's 8-4. We get to the top of the 8th, and all of a sudden, Reese McGuire, he hits that tank shot. It's 8-8, and Suzuki hits the home run to make it 11-8 in this game. To come through in the way that they did, it shows you again how untouchable this lineup feels like it can be. They could have won Saturday's game again. They had so many guys on base, in runners in scoring position, and they just didn't come through. You're asking a lot for this lineup right now. That, to me, is one of the biggest lessons of this series so far, is that the pitching did not hold up their end of the bargain, the starters at least. The bullpen did a great job, but the lineup had to carry this team to win this series. Their first win in Cincinnati, their first series win in Cincinnati since 2022. And to do it in the way they did, it just shows you how good this lineup can be and how clutch it can be. That's what's important. Is they left guys in runners in scoring position both Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. But more often than not, they were coming through and they got it done from so many different guys, not just Reese McGuire, not just Seiya Suzuki. You have Nico Hoerner getting a big 2 RBI double. Michael Busch comes through today. We've seen Kyle Tucker come through multiple times in this series. Everyone in this lineup, besides Ian Happ, is contributing in such a massive way to have these miraculous wins. And they really are just, it's stunning to see the two of these wins in a series. It just shows you where this team can go. I've been saying this since the beginning of the season when they really got rolling. The Cubs can have the best offense in baseball. What we've seen from Pete Crow-Armstrong, what we've seen from Kyle Tucker, those two guys can lead a championship caliber offense. The pitching, it's got a ways to go to get there, as we've seen in this series. Ben Brown, really tough day. 8 earned runs allowed. The first inning was a disaster. His last inning was a disaster. The middle was good, but that's what Ben Brown's been doing basically this entire year. He starts poorly, he figures it out, and then the third time through the order, teams crush him again. As Erica points out here in the chat, Justin Turner has been good too. Yes, Justin Turner, he's only hitting .216 on the season, but this series, it feels like the bat is coming around a little bit. Michael Busch also has been struggling, so really nice to see him come up there with an opportunity to get an RBI in this game, and he comes through in the way he did. He goes 1 for 2 with an RBI and a walk. So really, again, outside of Ian Happ, this lineup shows that any lead is not insurmountable. They can win any single game and against any team they play this year because of how good the offense is. The pitching's got to help them out a little bit. This is the 4th straight game the Cubs have given up runs in the first inning. That's starting to become a troubling trend as you deal with Justin Steele out for the year and Shota out well into June. But the lineup itself just continues to mash in a way that is really, it's mind-blowing. Like, I thought on paper, the Cubs lineup looked like it was going to be good this year. I think we all thought that, but what it's turned into, I think, is well above all of our expectations. Frankly, it's probably much higher than what the Cubs thought it was going to be at this point in the season. To see them be this level of elite this often is really jarring, to go from an offense that was kind of mid at best, I would say, last year, to this level of offense that's one of the best in baseball. And again, all these different guys. What's great about these wins is that you're getting contributions from so many different players in this lineup. But specifically, let's talk about Seiya Suzuki here. What his season has done is really interesting because he's really changed his approach at the plate. I mean, he used to be a guy with a ton of walks. He's like 6 or 7 on the season. He's changed his role a lot because of the guys that are in front of him now, specifically Kyle Tucker. He's trying to hit with a lot more power, and it's going really well for him, obviously. I mean, I think he leads the National League now in RBIs again after this game. He is just on another level right now, and it continues to be a very impressive part of the Chicago Cubs lineup. They're just clicking on all cylinders right now to find a way to win this series, 2 road series in a row. Now you go home, you play the Colorado Rockies. Anything besides a sweep would be disappointing, and then you play the Cincinnati Reds again before you go on a lengthy road trip. And not just a road trip, it's 26 games in 27 days. So the Cubs got a tough stretch coming out in front of them, and the Cardinals are red hot. So you just got to keep rolling right now. I can't believe we're scoreboard watching in the way that we are. They keep talking about it on the broadcast. We're talking about it here on the show. The chat's talking about it here on YouTube. But we are. It's the Cardinals are on your heels, but the Cubs just keep finding different ways to win this game. So we'll take a break here. We'll talk more about what we saw in this game. Ben Brown, kind of what I think the answer is and is not for Ben Brown, because I've seen a couple suggestions here in the chat. Plus, we'll take your questions and comments as well on the other side of this quick break. All coming up next here on the Locked On Cubs postcast on the Locked On Cubs YouTube channel. The NBA playoffs are in full swing, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments. Whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and lock. With player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays, fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. Typically, we go to the NBA here. I got crushed last night on the game that I talked about the last time we did this. I'm just looking at the next 3 days. I don't care what the wind is doing at Wrigley Field. I'm taking the over in every single Cubs and Rockies game. The Rockies are on pace to be the worst team in baseball history. The Cubs should smash them for 3 straight days. If you're new to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment a moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, so more from this game. Couple things I want to point out here as well. So we talked about kind of the guys left on base early on. So let's talk about Ben Brown here more in depth. The biggest thing with Ben Brown, Colin Ray, and Matthew Boyd in this series, the location. The location was a huge problem. Ben Brown comes out, his first 6 pitches, I believe it was 5 or 6 pitches, all balls. 4-pitch walk to start the game. He walks the next batter with just 1 strike. So you got first and second with no outs, and it just unravels there. All of a sudden, very quickly, it is 4-2, and the Reds had the lead at the end of the first inning. Now he gets a 1-2-3 in the second and the third, but then in the bottom of the fifth, all of a sudden it's first and second with no outs, and it unravels again. Ellie De La Cruz, who is one of the most exciting players in baseball, gets an RBI single. Hayes hits a 2 RBI triple. They had a really weird bounce for Ian Happ. Felt like he could have made a better play on it, but I think the ball just got away from him there, and it just unraveled for him. So it's 8-3 as Ben Brown leaves the game in the 5th inning. I don't really know what the answer for Ben Brown is. I think the suggestions about putting him in the bullpen is absolutely insane. You do not put people in the bullpen who walk everybody, who have no control over what they're doing. Yes, it's not just the third time through the order. It's the start of his games as well. I don't know what the answer is for Ben Brown. Obviously, I think if we had a way to do, Javier Assad would be an answer, but he's also an oblique injury that the Cubs are dealing with as well right now in the minors. Unfortunately, until the trade deadline, because as people in the YouTube chat are saying here, Jed should make a trade right now. It ain't happening. He's already said it publicly. Trades are not coming anytime soon. They are at least a month away. They will happen closer to the Major League deadline, which is July 31st this year. I agree with everyone that the Cubs need to trade for a starting pitcher immediately, but it's not going to happen anytime soon unless you find a team that's absolutely desperate. So if you can't make a trade and Ben Brown's not the answer, as Austin says here in the chat, I actually don't hate this idea. And I'm not a big Wicks guy, but I would probably give Wicks another shot. I'd probably give him another chance right now to come up and see what he has, because Ben Brown, I think he just needs time. I think he needs to go back down to the minors and figure it out a little bit. I think it's very similar to Matt Shaw, not to the high level of what we think Matt Shaw is going to be, but we've seen how good Matt Shaw has been. Since he went down to the minors, he reset himself, he worked on his mechanics, he came back, and he was much better. I feel like Ben Brown just needs the same thing. He just needs to go back to the minors just for a little bit to collect himself, figure things at what's going on, and then he can come back up and get rolling again. So whether it's 1 or 2 times through the rotation that he misses, I would just pick someone else to come up right now and just give them a shot and just see what it can be. Because honestly, here's my question. Can it be worse? Like, could it be worse for Ben Brown if you call up anyone else from the minors right now versus what you're getting from him on a regular basis? I know he's had a couple, okay outings, but you just can't rely on him at this point in the season. So I would just, if you can find a way, I would send him down to the minors for at least 1 or 2 starts just to try to, make sure he didn't have doesn't unravel. Chat pointed this out. Great catch. Forgot here. I think Wicks did leave his last start with an injury. Anthony says start Chris Flexen. Yeah, if he's stretched out enough, if you feel like you can get something more out of him than just 2 or 3 innings, I'd be fine with that too. Just to give Ben Brown, again, a break. It's not about a full-time demotion. It's not about saying he can't be a guy in the bigs, but he just needs to take a step back, I feel like, and kind of gather himself at this point in the season to really figure out how to get back on track for the Cubs. Because I think he's not important for them for their postseason goals, but to get to the postseason, you need guys that can go out there and be more consistent. And the difference between, what Ben Brown did in this series versus what Colin Ray and Matthew Boyd did in this series is that those guys have been pretty consistent throughout the entire season and been pretty good. I mean, Boyd and Colin Ray are a huge reason why the Cubs are in the position that they are today, which is 11 games above 500 and 2 games ahead of the Cardinals in the Central right now. Like, I have no confidence. I have no lack of confidence that they aren't going to figure this thing out. But Ben Brown just has, as the chat says, I agree here. It's just the lack of consistency and confidence probably as well. So that's the move I would make if you could. But we'll wait and see what they decide to do. The last time we talked about this, they DFA'd Julian Merriweather the next day. So maybe the Cubs know what they're doing, actually. Ian Happ, we'll talk about him, and they'll get back into the good stuff here in a second. Ian Happ, though, he's still on that struggle bus. Ian Happ is really going through it right now. I mean, that call third strike that was right down the middle of the plate, basically, it's just, he's struggling. Again, I would like to see Ian Happ move down in the order at this point because even though the Cubs won this series in Cincinnati, his performance over these 3 games sticks out like a sore thumb. Him and the starting pitching are the 2 negatives of the only 2 negatives of this series. Ian Happ is clearly just not, his timing is not just there just yet because he's just missing baseballs. He's taking bad pitches. I love this idea from Lynn here in the chat. Nico leadoff, even though I love having him down in the bottom of the order too, just because Nico Hoerner, as we saw in this game, he's so good when guys are on base, whether it's in extra innings like we've seen or in spots like this today. Nico is a clutch guy at the plate. He is one of, if not the most clutch guy, honestly, in this lineup. He is someone that I have so much confidence in. Probably him and Tucker are the top 2. And then Suzuki, of course, what he can do in this game. But I trust Nico so much when there's guys on base to really come through in a clutch situation. So I'd be open to Nico moving to the top of the order. I'd be fine with him sitting where he is now and putting PCA back at the top. But Happ, to me, he just, again, looks off. It's just something is not right with him. He's just not there. So I think he should move down in the lineup. But let's get back to the positive stuff here. Other things that happened in this game that I absolutely love. Let's talk about Kyle Tucker here again for a second. 1 for 4 in this one with a walk, 2 runs scored. He obviously doesn't have the flashy stat line of the day, but he continues to just put up really good at bats. I mean, he was struggling mightily. We all knew that. It was brutal for like a month, it felt like, for Kyle Tucker. With this Cubs recent stretch, he really is getting this thing going again. And when you're getting from 2 through pretty much 9 at this point in the lineup is consistent hitting, clutch moments. And now that Tucker is really rolling again, it just is adding to what the Cubs can do right now. Seiya Suzuki again. He has been phenomenal so far this year. And really, to me, is maybe the thing I'm most happy about, honestly, because of what he's doing on a consistent basis with the long ball. He is just feels like a different hitter. I mean, he's got more home runs at this point in the season than he did like halfway through the year last year. He is just a monster at the plate right now. And to come through in the clutch, again, in the way he did today was fantastic. The other part about the series that I want to touch on here before we wrap up today's show is the effort that we got from the Cubs bullpen. In a day in which none of your starters pitch more than 5 innings, today, again, not a single earned run allowed. Caleb Thielbar, Brazier, Drew Pomeranz, Keller, Palencia, all coming in and shutting down the Cincinnati Reds. They're really the reason why the Cubs won this game, and they're the reason why the Cubs won the game on Friday and had a chance to win on Saturday. They continue to pick up the starters for 3 straight games. So that they need their credit as well. It's not just the lineup, but the bullpen has done a fantastic job of picking up the starting pitching and keeping the lineup in a position to win these games because they're not letting an 8-run, an 8-3 lead by the Reds unravel to a 14-3 lead. They're coming in there, they're getting the job done, and they're all these different guys that are doing it. It's not just your top of the line guys are coming in. They just keep coming through and pitching really, really well. So that's the other huge positive I would say from this series is that as your starting pitching faltered, your bullpen excelled in a massive, massive way. What a fun series for the Cubs. Was this 28 runs? I think it was in 3 games in Cincinnati. Yep, 28 runs in a 3-game series against the Cincinnati Reds. They take on the Colorado Rockies next. The Colorado Rockies have 9 wins on the season. They are on pace to be one of the worst teams in the history of Major League Baseball. Nothing but a sweep should be expected over the next 3 days. And then we will see the Cubs take on the Cincinnati Reds again in Wrigley Field. So that will do it for us. Make sure you hit that subscribe button to the Locked On Cubs YouTube channel. We go live for 15 to 20 minutes after every single game. Of course, Matt and Sam have their daily shows as well that will pick up tonight. And if you want to listen to the audio version, find Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. You can tweet me your questions at Joe George Radio or on Threads. We started using that a little bit yesterday as well. So thanks for watching. We will talk to you tomorrow on Memorial Day.